Everybody, and welcome to our next EMA Industry Knowledge Exchange. Today we're going to hear from Makita at Expoplatform. Now, Expoplatform is a piece of technology that has been around for a number of years, and the company was founded about 2013. They're already working with many sort of major blue chip businesses and exhibitions, and I've been talking to these guys about sponsorship. I know a number of our members have had questions and challenges around both. Many of you get sponsorship for your events, your associations, your charities, etc. And many of you sponsor third-party events. And as we don't now have a physical presence, I think it's a really interesting discussion, both how you get sponsorship for your events and make sure that your sponsors get value for the sponsorship and return time after time, and vice versa as sponsors. What you look for in your sponsorship valuation, what you can and cannot ask for, and what platforms or technologies are finding really good that works. So as I said, Expoplatform been around for a few years, 2013. They're UK-based business based up in Cambridge. And with that, I'm going to welcome Makita. Fast Hopes. I escaped worse, Makita. Sorry, mate.
No worries.
Welcome, Makita, and hand over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, Richard. Thanks for the introduction. And hello, everyone from Cambridge. Thank you for joining this morning. I hope I'll be able to show you something and talk about something of interest. And I do welcome any questions that you have. I think what we'll do is probably cover the questions at the end. Yeah, I've got two parts to the presentation that I want to show you today. First part, I'd like to show a little bit of what we've been doing at Expoplatform and talk you through sort of what our thought process has been and what we've been working on, with the pandemic situation that has severely impacted, obviously, the running of any live events. And our core business before the pandemic was actually working with actual live physical events, conferences, and exhibitions. But we've had to add things into our product to make it viable for all scenarios, really. So that's the first part will be a short demo of the platform. And then the second part, what I'd like to do is walk you through a presentation that's specifically around monetizing things. So we're talking about monetizing the participation of your exhibitors/sponsors and what opportunities are around that. Because one of the things that I would like to sort of bring to attention is that it is entirely possible to make money even in the current situation, even just running an online event. And I'm not talking about generating revenue just from sales of tickets for attendees or sales of participation for exhibitors. We're talking about generating actual revenue from extra sponsorship. And we have some really good case studies where our clients have generated, quite significant amounts of money just on sponsorship alone, running the event practically for free for everyone to attend. So beyond that intro, I'm just going to jump into a demo here. A couple of things to note about the platform that we have. So we have a modular platform that can cover pretty much the entire life cycle of an event. So we have everything from an event website, and this is an example of a web CMS that we have. It's a drag and drop website builder CMS. We have online registration, which I'm not going to go through, but it covers all the things you'd expect from registration, payments, conditional logic, and so on. We have mobile applications that do the same thing as the platform does. We have networking and matchmaking in the system. We have directories. We have meetings. It's a host of different things. However, the platform is also modular, and that means that you can turn on and off whatever you need for your specific event. So there are customers with whom we work that use just one module, and there are those who use all of them. And there are those, of course, who use some. So it's sufficiently modular where we can slot in with any technology. And there are pre-built integrations with certain providers that are in the industry already, and that number is always growing. So I'll jump into the demo now. So the beginning of the journey here, I'm going to show you first the attendee/visitor journey. And I've already actually logged in as a person. But the beginning of the journey would have been I register somewhere, whether it's our platform or a third-party registration platform. And then from our platform, an email arrives to this person saying actually whatever you put in that email. It's completely customizable. But the gist of the email is going to be, thank you for registering. Here's your activation link. They click the link and they select their own password and they log in. So I've already logged in. So once they log in, there are a few different pages they could potentially land on. So one page is this dashboard, which gives them a quick overview of what's going on with their participation in the event. So it gives them a breakdown of how many views they had of their profile, how many people have favorited them, and what's going on with their meetings overall. And then a little activity stream saying, hey, this is how interactions have taken place with your profile. One of the other pages they could land on after logging in is a page called recommendations. So one of the key aspects of our platform is that it is underpinned by a recommendation engine that is driven by machine learning. It's constantly learning what every person at the event is interested in. And so this page presents a personalized list of recommendations for this specific person who is browsing the event. You can show different types of objects here. So our recommendation engine is able to recommend different things to a person. Other people, exhibitors here, products, speakers, sessions, and news items. And you can configure and select which one of these you want to show or not show. So if I was interested in one of these objects, for example, let's say I fancied these headphones or this television, we have hot interaction buttons everywhere. Favorite, meet, and message are the three basic actions throughout the platform, and they're consistent for most objects. But I can also click on any object, and that'll take me to its profile page. So I've just landed on the profile page of this particular product. I can see the information about it, whatever I want to know, and then I'll get suggestions of similar products here. And if I was interested, for example, in this product after reading this information, I could favorite it, I could request a meeting with the exhibitor to whom this product belongs, or message them. I could also view the exhibitor's profile here. So if I click there, I just go into the profile page of an actual exhibitor. This is an example. Let me show you another example here. Actually, there's a little bit more populated. So here's another example. So as you can see, the exhibitor can have a description, products, unlimited number of products. They can have a video or an embed code here. This particular exhibitor has an embedded 3D model on their stand that you can sort of browse. They could have a team here. This particular guy has one team member, and then it'll give recommendations of similar things as before. So let's imagine I want to meet this exhibitor. I can click meet, and this will allow me to book a meeting here. And I can select the person I want to meet with specifically. Type in a subject, type in a message, select the location. So I think one of the important aspects that I mentioned at the beginning is that our background is from actual real physical events. So we really understand events. And what we've done with our platform is we've added the ability to host pretty much everything online as well. But you configure whether your event is taking place just physically, just online, or hybrid, where it's taking place in both at the same time. So in this demo, you can see that there's a real stand number here. But I could just as easily not have real stand numbers and only online available. I'll select online. So I can tick here the products I'm interested in talking to them about, select the slot, the duration of the meeting, and then the day. These are the days of the event. And I'll get available time slots. Because I'm in the same time zone as the event, I only have one time being shown on each one of these buttons. If I was in a different time zone, I would have two times showing here. One in parentheses that would tell me what the event time is, and one in my time zone. So I select the starting time here and click request meeting. Once I do that, the meeting request flies out, which is also a customizable email, flies out to the other party, and they can choose to action it if they want to. And let's imagine a case where somebody has registered for the event. They registered for your event, but they actually didn't bother clicking the activation link or engaging in any way with the platform. They just registered, and that's it. They're just sitting there. And then suddenly they get an email saying, "Hey, this person wants a requesting a meeting for you," and they get interested by that. If they go to the email and click the link, what will happen is they will be automatically logged into the system. They will be asked to select their password, and they'll be taken to the card for the meeting that they can action, accept, reject, or reschedule. And in this way, we're trying also to drive more activations on the platform. So these links have auto login functionality in them essentially. So let's imagine that this meeting was accepted or another meeting was accepted. What happens then? Um, Obviously for an in-person meeting, I don't think I can demo that. I'm sure all of us know what that looks like. But for an online meeting, here's an example of an online meeting in my agenda here. So I can see that this meeting is happening at a certain time, what the duration is, where it's taking place. This one is online, date and time. There would be 2 times here, as I mentioned before, if I was in a different time zone from the event. I can reschedule or cancel this meeting, and it gives me a countdown timer about when exactly this meeting will happen, in how much from now. There's also a join room button. This button is disabled until 10 minutes before the meeting starts. At that point, 10 minutes before the meeting, all parties, so these are the parties in the meeting, all parties will get an email saying, "Hi, your meeting is starting, please join." Again, it's an email you customize. Um, when they join the meeting room, they'll be able to engage with each other, and I'll show you how that looks in a second. But let's imagine that I join the meeting room, but the other party doesn't. In that case, when the meeting time starts, the other party is going to get a chaser email saying, "Hey, uh, the party you're meeting with has already joined, but you're not there. Please join the room." Essentially, so those are the 2 ways in which we try and chase people down to make sure the meetings do actually happen. So because I'm doing a demo, I've got a little join demo button here, which bypasses this timer. So I'm going to click that. In fact, let me disable my video here and join this room. So I land on a screen that tells me all about the meeting again, and then I click continue, and it'll take me to a device setup screen. So here's where I select my camera and microphone settings, whatever I want to change, and I can join the room. So I've joined the meeting room now, and I can turn on my microphone and camera here, so you can all see me again. Hi. And here I've got a number of things. I've got the list of all the participants who have joined this meeting, whoever they are. I've got live chat here, so I can type and chat with all the other people here. You can see that if there is an exhibitor involved here, their logo may be here, and there's other customization options that are available for these meeting rooms. I can share my screen here with everyone who's around, and so on. So this meeting room experience is completely integrated into the event system. We are not taking people to any external resources. We are not taking anyone into an external even URL. So this URL here is yours. This is myevent.com essentially. The entire front end part, user part of this is entirely built and inbuilt and integrated into our system. The underlying actual provisioning of video and voice services is handled by Amazon Web Services. We didn't build that part, but the experience is completely integrated, which I think is a very important factor when you're thinking about fluidity of what happens on this journey of people participating in an event. It's got to be all connected. That's our thought process. So I'm going to leave this meeting room, and I'm going to show you what a session may look like. So one format of a session actually is exactly like what I've shown you in the meeting room, with a couple of extra options: a moderator that can mute and unmute people, and polling and Q&A sections as well. So that format is what we call the breakout format, and that format supports up to 250 people. In that format, every single person who joins the room may be allowed to speak or turn on their video camera, depending on what the moderator wants. So it's very much like the format we're talking in now, essentially. The other format that we have for sessions is a live streaming slash simulive format, and I'm going to show you that now. So this is the other type of session. So what you see here is just an embed code of a video. I can play this back. So you can see what it is. This can come from anywhere. It can come from YouTube, Vimeo, any streaming platform you like. and you have multiple choices about how you go about this. You can either stream live to one of these resources if you wish, and have a completely, entirely live experience. Or what you can do is pre-record a video, host it, let's say, on Vimeo, and then put a setting in our system that will create a simu-live experience. What that does is that, let's imagine the session, I joined the session 10 minutes late. If I do that, the video playback is going to start 10 minutes from the start time, and I'm not going to be able to rewind it. So for all intents and purposes, for me as a participant, it's pretty much live, but it is pre-recorded in the background, essentially. But they don't know that. So that's kind of, those are the two options for this type of session room. What you see here is also, and you can see the experience is very similar in terms of the interfaces, which is intentional. So you can see the list of participants here. Let me just, wasn't there? List of participants. Chat, like we saw before, you can raise your hand. We also have content. So the content is things like documents that the speaker might want to upload, a presentation, whatever. We also have Q&A. So Q&A is a moderated Q&A where the moderator of the session can allow or not allow certain questions to be made public, and then those questions can be voted on and answered by the moderator or the speakers. And then we have polling. You can create polls as the organizer before the event, or the moderator can create and launch them on the fly, and they're able to connect voting information and so on and so forth, essentially. So this is the second way to deliver sessions. And then there's one more way in which you can showcase sessions. And actually, well, I'll show you that in a moment. I think we have on demand. So, well, in fact, let me do that now. So this I have to show you on a live event. Here, this is an actual Read Exhibition show. And this is the on-demand section here. And what it is essentially on demand. So you have a deadline until which the content is available. And anyone who goes to this section who has the ability to view these specific sessions is able to watch them anytime they like. There's no pretense here of being live. It's all pre-recorded. So this is how it works, essentially. So here we go. I've entered a session, and I can play it back and watch it at my leisure, essentially. That's the third way of delivering things. And I turn my video back on. So those are the three ways in which we deliver sessions and meetings. Then we have I showed you the recommendation section, which recommends different objects to a person. We also have a section to drive meetings specifically. Now, when I'm logged in as a participant here in this demo, it's going to show me what exhibitor matchmaking looks like. So it's showing me cards of exhibitors. I'll show you what it looks like when I'm logged in as an exhibitor, but the system is configurable so I can show visitor to visitor if I want to. Just the demo isn't configured that way. So this is a top result card. For a person, there would be a person's photo here. The categories of interest that we match in, a matchmaking message, the three actions that we already know, meet, message, and favorite, or I can mark things as not relevant. So I mentioned that we have an algorithm that learns people's behavior. It learns behavior from everywhere on the platform. So whenever they enter an exhibitor's profile, or they favorite a session, or they join a session, or they read a news article, any of those things that they do, their preferences get updated with their interests, essentially. And then the matchmaking is made more accurate because of that. So we have also negative and positive actions. And negative action is ignoring a recommended result. So if I were to scroll down here, let's say, and select this exhibitor, all the ones above here that were supposed to be recommended as higher would get a slight markdown in score. I can also press this not relevant button, which is a strong sort of statement to say this is really not relevant for me, and will also mark things down. So that's what this section is for. Then we've also got a search. So this is more of the catalog. If you're talking about an exhibition or a sponsor listing here, we've got something like this. We'll talk about sponsorship in more detail, but there are a couple of sponsorship things that you can see straight on the screen. So these are the two banner spaces on this particular screen that can be sold. And then you can see some results have this gold border. And this is an optimized search listing. This is also a sponsorship opportunity. So from here, as always, I can search and filter these guys by categories, of different kinds, by country, by tags, and various things. If I click through, I'll go to the profile of that particular exhibitor. Yeah, it's everything you expect. We have a delegates page. So this is a page to show just visitors. It's searchable and filterable. Speakers page, again, sponsorship in various places, as I mentioned before. Here you can also search the speakers. Each of them has a profile that you can go through and look at. The sessions page, again, with sponsorship. This is where you can see all the sessions that are taking place at the event. You can add them to your agenda if you want to, but also so this is for a single track event, you would probably want to display them like this in this kind of view. If you're running something that's got a lot of different tracks, you probably opt for the calendar view. This is what this looks like. So these are the tracks here. I can filter by them if I wish. I can show all tracks. These are the days, and these are the sessions. This can scroll to the side essentially. So I click here, it'll give me information about the session. I can add it to my schedule. I see sponsors here, by the way, speakers, moderators, and then I would be able to join the session if it was an online session running now, or add to my schedule, or whatever. So this is a run through of the visitor side. I will spend another 2 or 3 minutes on showing you the exhibitor side, and then I'll move on specifically to talk about kind of the sponsorship ideas and opportunities that we have.
Makita, it's Richard. Just to jump in on a couple
Yep.
of things. So everybody, I've started to use the chat space on Zoom to sort of start to just sort of put some questions in, thoughts that I might have. So again, please, put some stuff in there, drop that so we can, Makita can then look at that with myself and answer any questions. That'd be great. Yep. Thanks.
Great. So I've logged in as an exhibitor / sponsor. Well, and just to make the distinction, so you can have sponsors who are not exhibitors, but you can also have sponsors who are also exhibitors, which is a much more powerful thing to do in many ways. So we always recommend that if you have sponsors, you opt to also make them an exhibitor because that gives them a lot more value from the event. So this is the dashboard of the exhibitor. You'll see that it's similar to the one that we saw for the visitor / attendee, but it has a little bit more statistics here, more fine-grained. We can see how complete their profile is. They can share their profile on social media, so Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. And the reason for this is that will attract their customers to go and register for your event, essentially. And then another thing here that is probably one of the most important things is this tracking of interactions. So whenever an interaction happens on an exhibitor's profile, that gets tracked. And you can see for each person what they've actually done on this profile. Have they visited this person? Have they viewed some products? What have they actually done? And I can see that, for example, this guy has favorited some products. All right, let's go see who he is. So I can click on a person and go to their card. First name, last name, job title, company name displayed here, and a picture of them, photo of themselves if they have it. Matchmaking message, and there are 3 standard functions: favorite, meet, and message. This part is the standard part of the card. You could also have category preferences. In fact, let me select someone else. See if I can show you that too. That's a team member of an exhibitor. This guy. Yeah, there we go. So category preferences. So this is a set of categories here of what they're interested in, or where do they have activities in. This is the standard part of the card, and then you have a dynamic part of the card, which is here. So this part of the card is something that you as the organizer can configure to show whatever you want from registration information. So this can be information like qualifying information for them to say, yes, this is an interesting prospect for me, I'm going to reach out to them. Or anything else really that you want. Anything you capture, you can output here in this format. So going back to the exhibitor profile, let me just show you quickly, since we were talking about matchmaking, what that looks like from this side. So this is what matchmaking would look like if we had people in there and not companies. So again, the demo is set up to be exhibitors to visitors, visitors to exhibitors, but it's configurable to not be set up in that way, and you can mix them all up if you want to, or you can separate them however you like, really. So it's very similar idea here that you saw with the matchmaking, all the same things, except this is a person, not a company now. So the exhibitor can edit their own profile, they fill in all their marketing information about themselves, they manage their team, They can upload videos to their profile here. So this is where they manage their team. So they can add a team member, enter an email address, and then it'll ask for job title and first name, last name, and so on. And then they'll get an email. They can manage their product catalog. So products that they add to the system are here. And editing a product or creating one is pretty easy. So just name it, tag it with the product categories here, add the description, and then you can add an embed code or video. So this is an interesting example actually of an embed code. So let's imagine that this is a producer of something interesting and they want to show a 3D model instead of a video. They can do that through an embed code. This same thing is available on the exhibitor's profile as well. But you can see that for every product that they have, they can add this kind of interactive something, either a video or an interactive whatever they choose to add through an embed code. Team schedule is the other thing that I can quickly show you here. So as an exhibitor, I can also manage my entire team. So you can have multiple team members, and I can see what each one of them is up to here. So I can filter by them, by different days, and so on. So what are different people up to on the different days, see their meetings, and so on and so forth. So I think this is it. There's a number of other things that we can talk. There's a messenger, which I didn't talk about, but you can message in real time people. This is a real-time messenger, essentially. I don't think I want to talk about anything else in more depth at this point. I think I'd like to switch to the monetization presentation. Unless there are questions you want me to answer about the product first.
Let's just quickly go through some of the questions that have already popped
Yep.
up. I'll ask them in the chat space.
Sure.
So do you offer support and training to clients? How do I put this together?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. We do. So the way it works is there will be an account manager who's dedicated to a customer, and that account manager will take you through the training and onboarding process, and they will help you kind of double check for your first event. They'll help you double check to make sure you've set everything up correctly, and so on. We also have extensive resources like a help article resource that you can refer to whenever you like. For the first event, we will typically also provide you real-time support during the event to make sure that everything is going as you would expect. Yeah, so I think we hold the organizer's hand quite well in the first engagements, always.
And can you make it mandatory for attendees to say visit, let's say, 5 or 6 sponsors? So I know you work with Reed, and I know part of the hosted buyer program is you must have so many meetings.
Yeah, so at the moment, there's no way to force anyone to do anything, and especially in the online space, it's a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
What we do though is track how many meetings have you got booked. So there's detailed statistics about each person. How many meetings have they booked? How many of those are confirmed? And then there's statistics about did they actually show up to those meetings? How long did they spend in the meeting room? All of that information is available. So we can't sort of there's no way without impacting the experience of the users that we've figured out, negatively to force people to have meetings. There's a format of meetings where we can have them pre-scheduled. That's a format, but that's a different. I didn't talk about that today, but there's a format where you can sort of automatically pre-schedule a bunch of meetings for people.
Yeah,
that's a very different way of approaching things. But in this format, I showed.
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay. Can sponsors reach out to delegates through the system to ask for a meeting?
Yeah, absolutely. If you set it up that way, absolutely they can. So they can search the delegate list. They also have matchmaking that they can go through, and then they have their interactions page, which I showed you here. So you can actually restrict or unrestrict the model as much as you like. You want to make the entire attendee list searchable? Go for it. You want to make them only be able to reach out to those who reached out to them first? Go for it. You want them to reach out to only those who are recommended to them? That's also fine. So you have a choice of models that you can go for here.
Okay. There are naturally a couple of questions already about cost. I don't know if that's something you're going to come to later, or roughly people are asking, what would it cost for a day's event for approximately 1,000 people? Is it an event by event contract or a monthly annual contract?
It really depends. I mean, we have a standardized calculator that is that we use for pretty much all engagements. The only exceptions we make are for when we're talking about corporate clients who are running a large number of events, or like a series of events, and they want all of that as a kind of fixed package throughout a
Yeah.
year. That's the only alternative. But typically we price per event, and that depends on the size of the event that we're
Okay.
running. But
Right.
arrangements can be made for something else if necessary, essentially.
Yeah. Okay.
If we're talking about, I'm sorry, I have to wave my arms for the light to come back on. If we're talking about specific pricing, I mean, if just engage with us, and we're happy to share that. It's standardized.
All right. And then there is one important one here, because I think I mentioned to you this before we went live, is have you experienced problems with companies that try to access your platform that have strict firewalls? There's two things here. There's guests coming in. Do they have a problem getting into this sometimes if their companies have strict firewalls? And the other question, on which I will add to that, is around the robustness of your systems and processes to make sure that your platform is secure.
Yeah, so I'll answer those in reverse order, I think. So in terms of security, we already work with a number of companies that take security very seriously. Um, I mean, you mentioned Reed Exhibitions. Reed Exhibitions is one company that we work with who have an infamous security process in the industry for being very lengthy, thorough, and painful for all of their suppliers. And we've gone through that, and we work with Reed Exhibitions at the moment. We also work with Amazon Web Services. We are their customer, and they're our customer. So we've gone through their security review. We've been through security reviews of a number of organizations at this point. So I'm pretty confident that the security that we have is sort of to a good standard.
Yeah.
So that we're comfortable with. In terms of issues with joining things and being able to access the platform, so there are cases when firewalls and security do prevent some form of access to the platform. However, we have troubleshooting guide. So I can give you one example. So telecom companies blocking communication tools outside of the one tool that they've chosen to be the only tool that's the holy grail, right? And we have an online meeting system in the platform that people should be able to join. What we do allow, though, is for them to be able to troubleshoot and do that well ahead of the event. So there's a little tool that they can go to that'll say, like, give them a green checklist arrows that they go through. It'll try and detect their camera, their microphone, check to make sure they have connectivity to all the right things. And if they don't, it'll tell them about that. So that can happen, and the only way can be for them to get their IT department to unblock things if they're on a corporate network. But it's not very frequent. We've only had one case where it was serious like that. Not really any other cases that I can think of.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, well, I'll leave the other questions for a little bit later.
Right.
Sorry, I stopped you there in your
Nope, all fine.
responses.
Better to get them out immediately, right?
Fantastic. Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna go through this relatively quickly. So this is a presentation we've put together that's specifically about monetizing and generating revenue. And what I'm going to talk about here, I think we all understand how to generate revenue in the physical event. When it's actually taking place, we're experts in that. But I think what is new in this day and age is how do we generate revenue more efficiently online? And this is one of the things that we've been thinking a lot about and working a lot towards, enabling organizers to generate revenue from their online component of their event. Whether that means that it's an entirely online event or not doesn't actually matter, because what we think is we believe that the revenue you're generating from a purely online event in its online component should be comparable to the revenue you should be generating from the online component of an event that's going, that has a mixed format, essentially. Anyway, so sponsorship listing recommendations. You'll recognize some of these things. I didn't talk about this one actually, and I didn't show you this, but we have a lobby module on the Web CMS. So the way that lobby module works is, you can see an example here. This background is entirely customized by you. You put in whatever you want in the background. This background can be a video or an image. And then on top of that, you can add little video embed codes if you like, and label interactive zones. So this is an example of an interactive zone. This is an example, this, each one of these logos, all of these are interactive zones. Each one of these zones can be linked to anywhere. You can link them within the platform or externally. And I can give you an example of what this organizer did specifically. They linked these to the exhibitor profile here, wherever relevant. So I could land on a page. Let's imagine it's the first day of the event. I land on a page that looks something like this and gives them a feeling that they're, somehow physically or mentally attached to the space in a way. When they click through on these things, they will land on the profile of the exhibitor, or they can land on a session or whatever. This is a way to kind of make things more accessible for them. And obviously, these spaces here that you create, whatever graphic or whatever video you create to put in the background, there you can sell them to your sponsors. Then the more obvious stuff, sponsorship on the homepage. So you can output sponsors on the homepage. Now, this is a standard thing here, just putting images in. But the more interesting thing is this. So these are previews of, this is exhibitors with which you can interact straight away from the homepage. So I land on the homepage of the event, and I've got these 3 interaction buttons. And when I click to book a meeting with them, it'll say, hey, why don't you register for the event if you're interested in that? You can keep it as open as that, or you can lock things down behind login so they can't even get to this page ahead of time. It's up to you. You can do the same thing for products, of course, speakers, and so on. Then we have the sponsored search result listing. I showed you with the gold border there. This is another opportunity to sell to your exhibiting sponsors. So another section here, team members. I showed you that the exhibitor can control their team members. One of the things you can package is the number of team members they have. This has a number of implications. First of all, a single team member can only be in one meeting at any given time. So if I have a meeting at 10 a.m., I can't be in another meeting at 10 a.m. That means that because they cannot be double booked, if they want to have multiple meetings at the same time, they need more people on their stand or in their platform. The other thing is that these team members usually have different functions. So if you have multiple salespeople responsible for different areas, you almost certainly want multiple people on your stand. Because if I'm selling, I don't know, let's imagine that you have one for EMEA and one for Americas, right? Those are different people with different roles. So when I'm booking a meeting, I probably want the right person for that meeting. And then the third thing is that if you have matchmaking turned on and team members are a part of that, then these team members will be recommended to visitors. So that means bigger exposure for the exhibitor. Same thing with products. You can limit the number of products that an exhibitor can have in their profile. I'll remind quickly that we have a recommendation engine that will actually proactively recommend products to each person throughout different pages of the platform. On the recommendation page and on pretty much every other page if you want that to be there. This means that an exhibitor with 1 product or no products has much different exposure than one with 10, because they have very different chances of being noticed by the right audience. They're in more places and more likely to be seen, essentially. Exhibitors can also customize their profiles, so they can have a custom background, which is an example here. They can also have a custom header for their profile, so we allow them to differentiate themselves a little bit. Something else that you can charge them for, of course. Then we have banners. So these are banners on different pages of the platform. The banners track impressions, unique impressions, and click-through rates. And these are visible directly to the sponsor or exhibitor and to you as the organizer. And you can run reports on this stuff. I don't think I need to tell you how to sell banners. Then we have pop-ups. So this is something that is also available to exhibitors that you can sell to. The idea here is that, let's imagine I drop in an exhibitor's page and I spend 20 seconds looking on the page. And if I do that, if I spend 20 seconds or whatever number of seconds dwelling on their profile, a pop-up will come up with a call to action. Could be a discount, could be whatever. So the pop-up has an image, a bit of text, and a call to action button. That button is one of the platform actions. So book a meeting, send a message, or add us to favorites, essentially. And they can name that whatever they want. But the idea is to get the person to engage actively after they've spent a certain amount of time on there. And so there's a couple of features in here that we're working on that we haven't released yet, but the ability for sponsors to, or exhibitors to push, to create content and submit it to you to then put it up in your news section. We have a news section as a part of our CMS, and we would like exhibitors to be able to push sponsored content in there, essentially, depending on your review, something that they will pay you for. Push notifications, I think quite standard. You can send out push notifications that are marketing messages essentially to everyone on the platform or specific segments of people on the platform. Then we have sponsorship of sessions. So you saw the sponsor logo here in the sessions. We're adding actually more sponsorship options to the sessions side of things, which I'll show you in a second as well. One of the other things, and this is also isn't available yet, but very, very near in our roadmap, is the ability for sponsors and exhibitors to request to host their own meetings, not meetings, sorry, sessions at your event as a part of your event. So what that would do, so at the moment, what you can do is you can have them do that by putting them as a moderator and speakers into a session, putting their branding on that session, and so on. That's available. What we want to allow is for a more automated process where they fill in a request to say, I want to run a product launch on my stand, essentially. And then you review it as the organizer and approve it or deny it. And if you approve it, then that product launch session will appear on their exhibitor profile, and anyone who visits their profile will be able to sign up to that directly or join it from there. That's that, and they would essentially pay you for that opportunity. And if they pay you more, then you list that webinar or that session as a part of the global agenda, essentially. So you have a kind of basic listing and premium listing opportunities with this. And then another one that we're working on now is pre-roll sponsorship. So the idea here is that, let's say you've put together a good conference agenda with some interesting content. We want to provide the sponsors a link into that. So we're talking about pre-rolling a video ad, let's say a 10-second video before somebody joins a session. You click the join button, and on the staging screen, you see the ad pre-rolling, and then you can join the session. These ads are highly targeted. And I didn't actually mention that for some of these other things, but for example, the sponsored search result listing is highly targeted. Which sponsor is going to be highlighted for you depends on what your interests are. Same thing here. You would be shown, let's say you put up 4 ads for this session. The ad that would be shown to the person would be the one that is most relevant to that particular person, essentially, based on their interests. That's it. Well, we have stats for pretty much everything for the sponsor and for you as the organizer. So I think one of the key things, especially with online, is that we really need to show the value to sponsors and exhibitors. They really need to feel like they're getting the value, and they need to see that objectively. And so one of the things that we want to do is enable them to do exactly that. Yeah, and then there's a bunch of ideas here about what to do and not to do. I'm not going to go through it all. I'll open it up for questions, I think.
That's great. Absolutely. Really, really interesting. Thank you. And so it's quite simple once you get to know, and you are the CTO, so I'm sure you know your way around the back end of this very easily. But yeah, I mean, it's a great platform with lots of interaction and stuff that people could work and develop. So I think the support and training component within within your product is really, really important. I'm going to flip across to the chat space to throw a few questions out from that. Let me just get back to the monthly charge. So these are all sort of mixed up now in no particular order, but keynote speaker sessions, do you offer green room and audio visual support for those speakers? I presume these are speakers that could be coming in from outside, such as myself. You know, whether you could support them with training or also just to make sure that they're up and running and their systems are ready. And yeah.
So the green room, yes, we provide a green room. There's a green room that you can use for the speakers. It runs in parallel to the session. So if you were going to, for example, live stream a session, obviously the live streaming side of things we don't do. We're not really an AV company. You can either do that in-house or engage an AV company, depending on how professionally you want it done.
Yeah.
But we do provide a green room, and the green room works similar to what it works like in Zoom, where you've got the sort of speakers in the webinar, and then you've got the listeners, essentially. So the speakers would be in a live conversation mode, but they'd see the same chat, they'd see the same Q&A and polls and everything else, and they'd have a little window that they can pop in and out of the actual stream.
Yeah.
Obviously, the stream is a separate thing. But what we don't do, of course, is we don't engage with your speakers directly. We don't train your speakers directly, but we'll train you about how to train them. But it's not really, we don't handle the organizational side of the event so much. We focus on the technology and making sure you know how to use the technology, what it can and can't do.
You are the platform. So, but yes,
essentially, yeah,
you can do that as the client,
yeah,
or you can use a third party to do that.
Exactly. And we do have partners who do the entire AV chain, the speaker training, and so on and so forth. So if you want us to recommend someone, we certainly can, but it's not something we do in-house.
Okay, that's good. That's good to hear, because a recommendation goes a long way. Gamification. Are you able to integrate, or is there any gamification involved?
Yeah, so at the moment, no. At the moment, there is no gamification as such. We're thinking about light versions of gamification for the platform. You could integrate with anything you like, really. So we have an extensive API. If you wanted to, for example, put up a page with a widget from from a gamification kind of portal, and then that gets fed by data from our platform, no problem. That's just an integration that would need to be done. And we are already integrated with popular industry tools like Blender, for example, which is an integration platform. So anything else, any other tool that's on Blender, it's pretty easy to build an integration with, essentially.
Uh,
Um, yeah, that's
there's
the
some
gamification.
questions around analytics. What I saw there, so I perhaps would just quickly answer those, is that, as the provider of the conference, there's an enormous amount of analytics that you can look at and get from this, of who's attended, where they've been, what they've done, how long they spent on it, etc.
Yep,
That's on your dashboard. And then there was a question about the sponsors, and I think the sponsor has their own dashboard.
they do.
They
I
can
think I
see
briefly showed that.
what they've done, and yeah, you showed that, but they don't get full access.
No, so they have this kind of dashboard as a sponsor. They can see the stats of who's interacted with their profile, their banner stats if they're running banners. This is empty for the demo,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Pop-up stats, how people have viewed and clicked that stuff, and then the optimized search results stats if they've bought that thing, basically. So they get stats, pretty comprehensive stats breakdown of everything that they're doing. Really, I would say.
Okay. Is the platform totally mobile responsive, or fully mobile
Yep,
responsive? Yeah.
it is mobile responsive. We also have a mobile app. I think probably if you're running a purely online event, there's no point in a mobile app. But if you do run an event that has a physical component to it, the mobile app usefulness is the fact that you get notifications that are more noticeable. So notifications in our platform arrive here in this notification area if you have them. And then we also have push notifications that are but you have to accept them in the browser. In the mobile app, if you install the app, they just run, essentially. So there are advantages to an app.
Okay, great. A couple more questions. How does the matchmaking algorithm work? I mean, that might be a too in-depth thing to
I
answer
can
here.
just
So
briefly,
yeah,
I,
and then you could
so
tackle.
very briefly, it works. So every person has. So it's based on what we call product categories. Essentially, what these are kind of subject categories. That it's a hierarchical tree of subject categories for your event. Each person has a certain amount of preference for each one of those categories. That's basically quite detailed. And so as a person interacts with the platform, we track their increases and decreases in preferences for each one of those. And then when we're matching people, the categories are in two spaces. One is this is what I provide, what do I do? And the second space is what am I interested in? So we match what are you interested in to what do you do, essentially. Very simply, it's like that. So basically, if you're a provider of books, let's say, and somebody's very interested in books, you're going to be highly likely that you'll be matched.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And then it also talks about prioritization around time zones or availability. Is there a language field? So that was something that came up in one of our conversations last week. It would be great if platforms are able to adapt. You can have it in a number of languages, and I think
So yes,
you can see a
so
language.
the interfaces are interfaces are multilingual. So I could probably switch to
There we go.
Russian here.
Ah.
Here we go. You'll see the interfaces are all in Russian suddenly. Probably not what you typically do, but this
Wow.
is just one of the languages available. We have, I think, German, French, Italian, a number of languages and available on the platform. Probably reach out to us and ask us which ones we have. If we don't have a language, it's very easy to add another language for us. It's just a translation file, and either you can do that and submit it to us, or we can do it. If you do it, there's no cost.
Right. That's excellent. Thank you. Um, that's very impressive, I have to say. And finally, question here is, you referenced test links. Are you able to share so that one of our members could test whether their company would have issues accessing an event?
So yeah, we can arrange that. I would suggest that you reach out to us and you book something with someone from our team, or they will reach out to you and book something, and then absolutely we can. That's something that can be done.
Yeah, so we'll be sharing the contact details, and posting the video online and the contact details of Expoplatform in the next couple of days. Does anybody else have any more questions? Or Makita, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
If no one has questions, I can certainly add something. No, I mean I've been speaking with the industry experts. I actually did a session at Event Tech Live that was recorded a couple of days ago, and
Yeah.
I think when we're talking about monetization is a very interesting subject. And I think the first thing that we need to realize about monetization is that you can't monetize anything unless you're actually able to provide value to your sponsors and exhibitors. Because, let's imagine you sell something really well, but they don't get the value back, they're never going to come back, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing that we need to truly focus on figuring out, and this goes back to like, why do people actually come to your event? That's the first question. Why are they going to attend the event, and what are they going to get out of it? Once you figure that out, then you can think about, monetizing stuff and so on. So I think while I certainly really enjoy the aspect of monetizing things and what the platform can do and so on, the first fundamental question is, what's the value of the event and what are the right things that you want to put forward, and that will make you understand what you need to actually do, what sort of tools you need to have, what kind of opportunities for sponsorship and monetization make sense or don't make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree that whether sort of like breakout sessions or exposure. I mean, at the end of the day, people want to talk to people, and the idea of sponsoring an event is that you are able to network and get some face time, and hopefully build a rapport and get a wedge in someone's door so that you can then follow up with meetings afterwards.
But even then, like, think about an actual exhibition. Some exhibitors are there just to expose their brand.
Yeah.
They don't, how many meetings they get is not one of their KPIs. They don't care about that. What they care about is how many people saw their profile and their big logo everywhere, and they understood that this is a company is everywhere, or this company is amazing, or whatever. But others really care about the sales aspect and the actual meetings they got and how many conversions they got and so on. So I think it's key to understand that for each one of the sponsors or exhibitors, what are they after? Same thing for the visitor side, by the way. What are they after?
Yeah, no, very, very, very true. Okay, one final question from Chris. Do you run into any quality issues when producing live streaming segments? How do you communicate with your clients to prepare for a live stream? So again, let me give you an example here because I have seen it happen. Is that someone's doing my presentation is now like you're live now on stream, but all of a sudden your internet provision or stream goes down and we've lost you. What happens? What would be?
I mean, just to explain from our side, the only thing that you need to do on our platform is put an embed code in. So our responsibility ends with the embed code outputting correctly on our system. We don't. I think the side of what do you do in various different cases like that, that's on the AV side. That's on the organizational side of how you organize the delivery of the session. What we guarantee is that the live streaming tool that you live stream things into, if that tool is working correctly, they provide an embed code and that embed code is right, we guarantee that embed code will play correctly in our session room.
Yeah.
So it's very simple on our side. There's not much that can go wrong really on our side.
Yeah. So that basically goes to you saying it's that we're the platform, you're the producers. That's up to you how you produce your.
Yeah, you are a third party.
Yeah.
But we have seen that happen, and usually there is if you work, you got to have a plan.
Yeah.
Even if you work in house, you have a plan. What's the backup plan? You fill something with time.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Or one of the things we've seen is pre-recording stuff.
Yeah.
So for example, one of the things we've seen is that if a speaker falls off, or if the speaker can't make it suddenly 2 minutes before, you play a recording of something, or you put in an advert, or you ask everyone to pre-record their sessions, especially those who are not stable. And what we actually also seen is when much content being pre-recorded has been a really good strategy because it really de-risks the event. So you pre-record it and then you simu-live it, like I was explaining before, where it feels like it's live, but actually it's pre-recorded.
Yeah, no, I agree there. And it gets over all the...
And the speakers can be in that room. The speakers can be in that room in the chat, answering the questions as they come in and doing the Q&A and so on. They are there. but they're not actually speaking live, though the illusion is that they are.
Yes, no, totally. Yeah, agree with that. So pre-recorded sessions are really useful with the speakers available to then do Q&A and interact.
I mean, live has its value as well, but you have to understand that it's riskier.
Yeah. No. Okay, guys, I'm going to draw things to a close. Nikita, thank you very much indeed for taking us through what Expoplatform has to offer and how it works. Very, very interesting. Sorry, just a quick closure from my part here. Next week, we're going to do 2 events on Thursday. A bit of a pack, but I'm going to do a quick one in the morning where I'm going to talk more about the hybrid event and really share my experiences from last week's event that we did at the Royal Lancaster Hotel. And it's very much really about speaker training and preparation, because I certainly wasn't prepared and would like to be more prepared in future. So we've got that, and we've also got an afternoon roundtable session with the Swiss Convention Bureau, one of our sponsors and partners, on key initiatives and learnings that are taking place in Switzerland. So if anybody could join us for that, I'd greatly appreciate that. So again, to put a close on this, Nikita, everybody, thank you very much for joining, and
thank you, everyone.
We'll be in touch soon.